Hello, my name is Frederick Thomas, and I am the Supercoding Ninja. Today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to create a professional README. This is called a README generator. Imagine you as a developer in a busy world trying to get a lot of tasks done. Well, trying to think of what goes in a README, or you may just forget sometimes. Not everyone's good at it. You can create a generic one, and it can have pretty much everything you need. And when you need to input new stuff, you can. But you don't have to think about what goes in it. That's what this is for. And let's get started. I'm already in my IDE, and I'm using Visual Studio Code, and yes, a MacBook Pro. Once you go Mac, you don't go back. The directories I'm using is Access and Media. I just created this so we could provide screenshots from another practice demo I did prior to this. And then, of course, my classic favicon. We're going to use that as a logo in our README because, as developers, we want to have an icon. So let's get started. We need to create what's called dependencies. Make sure you're in the correct directory. Open your terminal. Is that big enough? Yeah, we'll do that. And we're going to refer to our documentation over here, npm.js, which I will also include as one of our references in my README and a link to it. So type in that command. Oops. Forgive me. Try this again. And npm stands for known packet modules. You're going to install that. Notice on the left what's going to happen. Our modules were created. Look at that. Outstanding. Can you imagine all this line of code that you do not have to type? Pretty awesome. Let's get started. Now we need to create, oops, wrong directory. Let's minimize this. Make sure you're in a directory. Now we need to create our index file. And as you can see, I have some notes here. I already created. To give you a better view, pretty much I have my questions that's going to populate and generate in our code, or excuse me, our terminal. And this will make it where we don't have to answer. I mean, where we only have to answer. We don't have to think of the questions necessarily. Over time, you'll make more questions and better questions for yourself, but you create it in your, I did it as an object, an array of objects. You can do it however you want. But over time, you'll be able to think about the questions you want, and all you have to do is come in your terminal, answer it, and it should populate in your repository over here. I want to commit some of this stuff. We need another file, which we're going to call file generator. As you can see, I already got the code for that. To make this faster for this tutorial, I'm going to commit that. Type it under pressure. And now let's make sure we have everything in the correct directories. We have a file generator index. We're ready to get started. So that I want to show you real quick is your content. Notice this is called Markdown. All this. We want to be able to change your markup dynamically. You want to keep going through the whole list and forget to change something. So right here we have some generic things. For instance, your title, your GitHub username, which is a link. Notice how I'm doing a markup where I'm going to combine that in just one thing. You'll see your username, but it'll be a link to that GitHub. The license you want to use, that's going to change every now and then. So we're going to create that as a list. So this is prepared to dynamically change. Of course, the user story, just for today's purpose, I didn't create anything dynamically to change, but you could do that too. And you would do the same thing. You use these temporal literals. Notice I have that response right there, how everything has response. Go back to index. What I'm requiring, the file and the response are the names that I have here. So let's go ahead and run these files. You're going to type in the command node. A lot of people like to just do index. I like to just name the whole file. Just make sure I'm doing everything right. And I have some notations over here. I'm going to close this one. To make this a little bit quicker. You know what? I will fill this out and we'll come back to the end of these questions. Now I'm still filling out a list of questions, but I wanted to let you know about one of the objects I created was a list. Notice how it tells me to move the arrows down. I really wanted you to see that so you could create that for yourself. And that's very important to know. Almost done with the questions, but I wanted to show you the screenshots, how we're going to input those in. I have the relative path here. And I decided to make 3 choices because usually I at least have 3 screenshots, which would be right now HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But I'm sure there'll be
It's
more.
8 hours.
Now we're to the references. We're almost done to our file. I have to do this in small portions, okay? And it's still, I think it's going to do it. Make sure all this goes in because usually you want to type it. So if you try to cut, copy, paste all of it, it may not go through all the way and you'll have to go back and correct. So ideally, when you're doing this in normal time, you would be typing this through. Or if you're like me and you want to proofread first, instead of having to go back and proofread it, you'll be doing something like this. There's all kinds of ways to do things. If you have a better way, please leave it in the comments. We're all developers doing this together in a crazy, crazy world. Same thing. Actually, this one is shorter. I do it in phrases. That way I know where I'm at in my sentence structure. Oh, whoa. Talk about proofreading. That should have been. And notice how I have another section for about MIT. Don't worry, I don't have to do a temporal literal for that. I did, but I don't have to answer that question is what I mean. And I actually do not like the way that came out. I want 2 spaces. Now we're at the end of of the questions. Now you're going to see a README populate on the left side right here. And bada bing, bada boom. You should be very proud of yourself if you got this far. Notice that markdown. Oh, that looks a little off though. Put tabs on this. There we go. That looks like it was doing a little bit better. I just corrected the tab by shifting tab over. There we go. We can see a preview of this. Of course, the preview is not showing the change I just made. So what I'm going to do is create a commit. Ooh, sorry. Push it. So we're on our repository. Let me refresh the page, see if it shows our commits. Look at that. You know, something I noticed, I did not create a .gitignore file, which is a no-no. Let's go ahead and do that and recommit, because we're lucky that this didn't bog down the server. The server could actually look for your dependencies itself. So, but as you notice, I got the file structures, the MIT is right here. Everything's looking good. My logo's not correct either. So let's go back to our code. Make sure you're in the correct directory. I'm going to create .gitignore. Should have saw that when I typed my test too. All right, what I like to do is copy the relative path. Actually, I'll do it this way. Some space, you know, COVID going on. As I don't like to mix up these two because of the naming convention. And just because this is all on my local machine. I'll commit that. Pick up. And we're going to push that. See how it's bogging out? So you want to make sure you create your .gitignore file first. As far as that logo, we're going to have to figure that one. Okay, a simple fix. I just created some spaces. I use a symbol to give some more space and clarity between my GitHub username and email, because it could look like one link and you don't want people to think that. I also put spaces between here. As far as my assets, look at this. That may be the relative path, but notice the problem we have. Let's go to our screenshots. Matter of fact, it'd probably be better if I show you the preview. Notice how assets shows a relative path, but it doesn't show the screenshots as we see right here in our demo. So we're going to close the preview. What did we do different? This is the markup that we're creating dynamically. So we need to type in just like this syntax right here. So we'll just copy this real quick to make it simple. That way we have the correct syntax without question. And we'll change that relative path to that syntax that we copy. And let's commit those changes. Corrected. I already committed the spaces earlier. Corrected logo. And of course, I'm going to have to work on the size of it, but this is just to give you an idea. I'll put the code in later, but I just want to show you that it can populate. Go to our preview. And lo and behold, look at that. Is there. So I hope that you enjoy this tutorial. We could actually refresh our pages. Forgive me. See if it populates. We need to actually push those changes here. Do a git push. Remember, this is a survey. It can take a while. And lo and behold, look at that. I'm actually satisfied for that for now, except for one thing. Let's get rid of one of those periods. Not periods, but symbols. Quick git push. Refresh our repository. And lo and behold, you have your logo, the GitHub username, the email, believe it or not, works. That's awesome. And you also have the deployed application link, which that's going to be the YouTube series that you're watching. My name is Frederick Thomas. I am the Super Coding Ninja, and thank you for watching.